Welcome to the Nate KG podcast. I'm your host, Nate KG, and this is a show about jump rope where I connect with and share the stories of all types of jump ropers, ranging from enthusiasts to elite competitors and everyone in between. In this episode, I talked with Davina Dalgetty at Davina_jump on Instagram. Davina and I have been friends for a while now and have jumped a few times at local events in Southern California. We spent hours geeking out on all things jump rope fitness related, and I wanted to bring some of those conversations to you. We touch on a lot of different subjects, including the things Davina wishes she would have known at the beginning of her fitness journey, what she's learning now that's new and impactful, building a sense of confidence and pride through jump rope, and a whole lot more. All of the show notes for this episode can be found over at natekg.com. And with that being said, let's jump into this episode with Davina Dalgetty. Davina, welcome to the show.
Hey, Nate. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I am super excited for this. We've jumped a lot in the past, and we've had lots of conversations about jump rope. And this is gonna be a really good one. It's gonna be a really good one.
Yeah, I'm super excited. But before we get started, I just want to tell you thank you for always helping me out and guiding me through the majority of the jump ropes tricks that I've learned. I really appreciate you. All your humbleness and your kindness and your time. Super awesome.
You are
so thank you.
Super welcome. And I swear I did not plug that. I didn't slip Davina 20 or anything like that. I really do appreciate that. And you are most welcome.
Yeah.
You put in a lot of hard work. So it is my pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So to kick things off, let's kind of talk about where you're from and where you grew up, just to give some context about where you've grown up.
Okay, cool. So I was actually born in Los Angeles, and I grew up in the childhood of Los Angeles. And then as I got older, we kind of moved into the Redlands area. So I've been there pretty much almost all my life until I got married and moved into Riverside.
Nice.
So I've been residing in Riverside for about 10 years now. And,
so Southern California, born and raised.
Yeah, pretty much. Love the beach. Always went to the beach, the mountains, Disneyland, you name it, everything.
That is super cool. We've actually been really close to each other in proximity for a while, and I didn't even realize it until we connected.
Met
probably
in San Diego, right?
6 months ago or something. When did you first start jumping? Was that a year ago?
So I originally started jumping as it was a year ago in January when I really picked up the jump rope to start my fitness journey, and when I actually started to learn tricks. I would say the first trick I ever learned, which it was a side swing. I remember seeing, all the Instagram followers that I was following. I was like, oh my gosh, that side swing is so cool. I got to learn it. And then from there, I just took off and just started watching other jump ropers and connecting with people, connecting with you, and just feeding off each other. Yeah.
So let's kind of paint a picture here. So January 2019, that's when you started jumping?
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so where were you at with your fitness journey, and what was going on in terms of fitness leading up to January 2019?
Okay. So in the summer of 2018, so it was 6 months prior to 2019, I decided that I wanted to lose weight. I really felt tired all the time, and I wasn't happy with myself. So I went and got a gym pass to 24-Hour Fitness, and I was on the elliptical 3 to 4 times a week. And I would say by December, I barely lost maybe 10 pounds. And I was like, there has to be something else out there. So I just started Googling, and I saw the jump rope dudes, and that's how I ended up getting plugged into starting my fitness journey, because they had offered those fitness workout plans that they had with the jump rope combined with HIIT. So I joined that, and I went from there as far as working out.
With the elliptical, were you going on there and just using the machine for a certain period of time and then leaving? Is that what the workout was?
Yes, I would go on there for half an hour, maybe 45 minutes to an hour. And I would try to convince myself that I'm having the best time of my life, but I wasn't, seriously, I would blast this music in my ears. And
what kind of music? Just curious.
I listened to 21 Pilots. kind of like alternative rock, you know?
That is very fitting. Knowing
Is
you
it?
and hanging with you, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I kind of
Yeah.
thought you were gonna go down the route of some like really intense rap, and I was gonna be like kind of
Oh,
surprised,
really?
but I feel like I could also see you listening to that and just like bobbing
Some
your head
Biggie
as you're
Smalls.
jumping. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Some Tupac from the 90s. No, Nate.
Yeah. I don't know, you never really know.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I did grow up on that stuff though, but not when I was working out on the elliptical.
Okay. So you for
Yeah,
6 months you were doing that and you only lost 10 pounds.
that's right. And then, when I ended up seeing the official jump rope dudes, and then I saw, Rush Athletics, and then I started following you, and I was like, look at all these cool people with the jump rope. And then that's how I ended up finding out, it's actually part of being fit and you can lose weight. So like going back to what I said, I went with the jump rope dudes and I did their workouts.
Real quick, I have a question for you. Not to interrupt, but I have a question for you. So,
Okay.
did you have a specific weight that you were trying to, or did you have a specific amount of weight you were trying to reduce? Was there a goal target of weight to lose?
Yes. So I actually lost 30 pounds. So I don't have a problem saying that. At the time, I was 145 or 146 pounds, and my goal was to lose 115 pounds, which now I'm here at 115 pounds.
So wait, you wanted to lose 30 pounds to get down to 115?
Right.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. And so
Yeah.
so you lost 10 in 6 months, and then in January you picked up the rope. So
Yeah, I picked up the rope. Mm-hmm.
what changed there? And I'm curious, how quickly did your results come?
So I had lost the rest of my weight. I would say it was towards the end of the year that I really hit my goal, like in 2019. So it took me about a year to get where I'm at today, from January 2019 to December 2019.
So I'm imagining a lot of your workouts kind of shifted during that time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say for like the first 6 months, I was just sticking to the workouts from the jump rope dudes. But then I really wanted to start getting toned. So I started doing more strength training and HIIT. And I feel like that's where I lost most of my body weight towards the rest of the end of the year, combined with jump rope.
And when you say strength training, what can you define that? Because there's like a lot of different ways to go about that.
Okay, yeah.
I'm
So
curious.
a lot of strength training. So on a weekly basis, like I work, and I still do to this day, I work on, whether it's legs or glutes or backs, biceps. I do a lot of that with either a dumbbell or I do it with my own body weight. So whether it's like air squats or dumbbell hip thrust or dumbbell row or like a dumbbell back fly, depending on what the workout is.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do that kind of strength training for about 45 minutes. And then after that, I follow it immediately with like maybe a 10-minute HIIT workout.
Where did you learn those movements from?
I learned them from the app that I have with HitMax.
What's on it? I haven't heard of that one.
So, okay, yeah. So it's by Halsey Keenan. I think it is Kelsey Keenan, I believe her name, or Heenan. And she has an app where she has all these different workouts that are specifically for strength training, followed by a HIIT workout.
Cool. So now that you're a year into jump rope, you've stepped up your game like crazy, and I know because we've been corresponding for a while.
Yeah.
What do you wish you would have known at the beginning?
Whatever I know of my fitness journey.
Of your fitness journey and of jump rope. I think those are probably similar but not the same. Yeah, is that right?
Yeah. Okay, so I wish that in the very beginning I would have known about strength training to begin with. Because every time people were like, well, Davina, like, don't just do jump rope. Because at the point I was just doing jump rope and HIIT. They're like, oh, you should add weights to that. And I was like, well, I don't want to add weights because I don't want to get buff. I just had in my head I was going to get buff. But,
Yep.
And so I was just so against it. But as I've been reading more, about nutrition, about working out, and I was like, I wish I would have known that muscle mass burns body fat. And I didn't know
Yep.
that.
And
Right?
it's a big deal. It's a
It is a
big
very
deal.
big deal. And all I did was jump rope and hit, and boom, I was out of the gym. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
But and I mean, I felt great about myself. I mean, yeah, I lost a lot of weight, but if I would have went back and I would have known that muscle mass burns body fat, I would have totally done some type of weights. But I never picked up a weight. And it kind of sucks now because now my goal is to get toned. And I'm like, geez, if I would have just, did both of them at the same time,
You would have been
I'd
there.
be in a whole different situation. Yeah, exactly. Right.
But that's also part of the
So,
process of like learning and realizing.
absolutely.
But it's true that just doing cardio all the time is not as effective as pairing it with some strength exercises. I mean, yes, it's definitely going to be helpful. And if you're, in terms of like the context of jump rope, if you're adding in highly plyometric skills like push-ups or handstands or anything like that, you kind of, it's not the same as strength training with actual weights, but I think it's relatively similar just because of how you're activating the body, but yeah, and it's such a big deal. We were at an event with Fausto, shout out Fausto, and we were heading out. And we were just chit-chatting on the way to the car. And then about an hour and a half later, we actually parted ways and left.
I know.
Yeah, we were chatting about all this good
stuff.
It was a really good conversation. And as we were talking, that's why I was like, you know what? We got to have Davina on the show and talk about all this fitness stuff. So what are you learning right now that's new and that's impactful?
That's new and impactful. I would say it's more of continuing with the HIIT workouts. Like I'm trying to, or I'm sorry, strength training. I'm trying to get away from the dumbbells, and I'm trying to do more things like, what you had mentioned to me, like deadlifts and back squats, and trying to push myself to do bigger, and not just stick with the dumbbells. But my goals right now are to get toned. And so that's all I'm focusing on right now is strength training, because I do want to build muscle mass, and I do want to get, some really nice abs and be strong.
Yeah. I mean, I think abs are a great goal. And it's going to help you with jump rope, that's for sure.
I know. So right now, that's pretty much what I do, is like a lot of strength training. And then the HIIT, and then I always make time to practice something afterwards for at least a half an hour, 20 minutes to half an hour with a jump rope. So I'm at the gym for at least an hour and a half.
That's solid.
About 3 to 4. No, I'm sorry, 4 to 5 times a week.
4 to 5 times a week. That's a good amount. That's a good amount of working out. Wow, good for you.
Yeah, I have some goals.
I have some goals. So are the abs like the main goal right now?
I would say just my abs, my arms, my leg. I want to get toned. I want to build muscle,
Sweet.
And going back to what we said, I just wish I would have known that in the beginning of the journey.
What's your progress so far with the back squats and the deadlifts? I'm curious how that, because that's also skill acquisition. It takes time to learn those and get comfortable with them. I'm wondering how that's going. And also if there's another movement that you're working on that I didn't mention, let me know.
Honestly, I barely tried a deadlift for the first time. Like, I don't know, when did we talk about this? Like 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago. And I had just put 60 pounds on there, and I was just curious if I could do, the 8 reps with 4 sets. And I was actually comfortable with it, and I stayed consistent with it. And it was just last week I was actually able to add another 10 pounds. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I'm getting stronger.
Sweet.
Yeah, right?
How does that feel?
It feels absolutely amazing. I love it. Like, I was always intimidated with trying a dead squat. I'm sorry, a deadlift. I just didn't think I could do it. I just really didn't. But I don't think I realized how much my body has changed and how much stronger I've gotten over the time of my weight loss and fitness journey.
Why didn't you think you could do it?
Because it looks hard. It looks intimidating, and a lot of the times when you see people doing it, they're the ones who are really cut, and I definitely do not look cut. And I'm like, that looks intimidating. I don't think I can do it.
Is that kind of the same thought process when you see someone do like a crazy like quad or like insane manipulation and wrap and stuff with jump rope?
Yes, absolutely. I think I felt that way when I first started trying to learn tricks. I was like, oh, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to do that Mick. Like, there's no way, I could do that Mamba,
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
but I think it's interesting. I think one thing that I've learned is, as you learn tricks, for me personally, I feel like, you start to get the feel of things. Like when you get a double under, like when you feel it, you start to know the feeling of it, and you start to keep looking for that feeling in your hands, in your body, to keep doing it over and over, if that makes any sense.
It for
And
sure does.
yeah, and I think the same thing with the Mick, like when it clicked, when we had our jump meet in LA with Mike and Chris and Bobby, and when Mike showed me, he's like, oh, you have to just move your wrist and then count 1, 2, 3. I was like, oh, that makes sense,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, but these are things that I never thought I could do, and now I'm doing them.
Is that when Bobby was teaching you the Mick, was that the first time you ever did a skill and it completely
It
clicked
was
and you
Mike.
felt
It was
like,
Mike. Mm-hmm.
oh, it was Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So when Mike taught you that, was that the first time you ever learned a skill that when it clicked, it was like an epiphany? Like, yes, like I finally got it.
Yes, actually, when I had gone there and I was like, I never met Chris, I never met Mike, and I was like, I'm gonna make sure I leave this place getting this down, because I was actually trying to learn it months before that, and I just couldn't figure it out. And I remember looking at your Instagram post. You have like an old Instagram post about it, and it's in slow-mo, but it just wasn't clicking. And then Chris had posted a really cool tutorial on it too, and I just couldn't do it. But regardless, I kept trying it and trying it and trying it. So when Mike finally said, hey, this is what you need to do, it all ended up kind of blending together. Even though I was trying, I didn't know like the mechanics to it,
So were
So
you trying to do too much too quickly, you think? Is that what
I
was
think
going on?
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine with doing a Mick, because you said break it down 1, 2, 3. I would imagine you were trying to do the wrist pop or the throw. I think you were using a long handle at the time, but like a wrist pop or throw at the same time that you were trying to rotate it. So you're trying to put that 1 and 2 into the same kind of movement. Is that what
I
was
think
going on?
so. I think that's what if I remember right, I think he was telling me I was either counting one number too short or one number too long. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was that. I didn't even know how to pop it off the wrist. I think I was trying to do it with just releasing it, kind of like the way I do it now. But I learned it by popping it off the wrist. So
what do you think about long handles and short handles? How do you feel about those two different ropes? Because I've seen you use both of them.
yes. So long handles I really loved because for me personally, I think I was afraid to go to the short handles because for some reason the longer handles were easier for me to hold and handle, and I felt like it was easier to learn tricks with. And that was one of the reasons why I had the long handles. And I also thought if I had the long handles, I could be able to get the TJ down faster, but which never happened. So,
You haven't gotten the
um,
TJ yet?
no, I have not.
Oh, well, we need to do
So
some work on that because I know how close you are.
I know I'm off by like a hair. I just keep trapping it in the open. My foot keeps getting caught in the open. But going back to that, it's like, like I want to push myself, I always do everything with long handles. Like I know they work for me. And every time I tried to do tricks with the short handles, I could never do them. Like for some reason, tricks as far as like the Mick or something, like I feel like for some reason when I did the Mick, it was just easier to catch the handle. I had more room to catch that long handle. Whereas if I have the shorter handle. So I really wanted to push myself and get out of my comfort zone. And it really wasn't easy at first for me to learn those tricks with the short handles. But to be honest, like I kind of like them better because I feel like that they're lighter in weight, and I feel like everything flows better when I jump.
Sorry, with the short handle or with the long handle?
With the short handles, I'm sorry. Yeah, with the
Yeah.
short handles.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you talking
So,
about a short handle licorice or a short handle beaded?
beaded, the
Okay.
beaded rope.
Yeah, that short handle beaded, that is my go-to as well. There's something super flowy about it. Not that you can't be
Yeah.
flowy with like a long handle, because I would say for the majority of my jumping, I actually used a long handle with a licorice rope. And I know people like Luke Boone make it look like a million times smoother than most short handle beaded rope jumpers for sure. But yeah, there's something about it that's just, it feels really good.
It feels light. And the thing is, the handles that I have now, the long handles, they're light, but compared to the short handles, they feel heavy, you know?
This is like one of my
Um,
favorite subjects to talk about because it's so specific, but that handle to rope weight ratio is so critical because you'll have
yeah.
something like so for me personally, I don't like to do mix with a short handle licorice rope because it just feels all janky and weird. Like I'd rather do it with a long handle because of the way the weight is distributed on it, you know, versus
Yeah.
like, but again, I like a rope that's super even. Like the short handle beaded feels like the whole rope is almost the same weight as it's going around you, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think to me too, I feel like I have more control with the short handle beaded rope than I did with the long handle beaded rope. I don't know why, but for me, I feel like I have more control over the rope. And also with the beaded rope, I love to that when I'm practicing something, you can feel the movement, in the rope opposed to like a licorice rope.
Because of that feedback.
Yeah, the feedback. Exactly.
Yeah, that feedback is critical. People, it's one of the funniest things that I think I've encountered in jump rope is that when people are learning, they want to go to that lighter the PVC cable, which a lot of times makes a lot of sense for someone who's younger, like a kid, because they're younger and little string beans and it works for them. But it's funny with adults, they always want to go lighter for whatever reason. It's so counterintuitive because everything else in exercise always is about going heavier or doing more reps.
Mm.
But then with a jump rope, it's always let's go lighter and make it
Lighter.
easier, which is really weird, right? But then
Right.
the irony is once you go with a heavier cable or heavier rope, it doesn't have to be that much heavier, but once you've got that feedback, a lot of things become easier. Even some multiples, honestly.
Right. I think the multiples, you're talking about triples?
Yeah, doubles, triples, quads, all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the only time I've ever really tried the triple was a side swing cross open. And that's as far as I got as a triple.
You can do more than that. Like I know your jump skill. You can for sure. You can do like a swing cross open, swing open open, swing open for sure.
Yeah.
Like I know you can. Like now that I've said that, I kind of expect to see a post soon. Like
Oh, great.
yeah,
Here we go.
you got this. What is
So,
your yeah? Go ahead.
so I was gonna say really quick, going back to how you were asking about what are the things that I wish I would have known before as far as fitness.
Mm-hmm.
What I did want to bring up was macros. I wish I would have
Oh
known
yes.
about macros. Um, so let me tell you why, because I think it's super important. So when I was on my weight loss journey with jump rope, I was in a calorie deficit, right? So let's just say I ate like 1,200 calories a day, just because I wanted to lose weight. So I was over there like on my fitness pal punching in, how many calories I'm eating, but I never knew anything about macros. And because I had no knowledge of macros, I feel like that stalled my journey. And I kind of wonder where I would have been more. The reason why
Interesting.
I say that is because so I would go in there and I'd be like, okay, like I have like 500 calories left. I'm going to go get like a protein double from In-N-Out. And I'm seriously, this is what I would do, right?
Yep.
I would go.
And you're like
I
that
would go and I
protein
was like,
sounds great. I need it. Let's get it. Mm-hmm.
right? Or I'd be like, well, like I have this X amount of calories left. I'm just going to go get like a taco from Taco Bell or whatever. So anyways, my point is that yeah, I was counting my calories, but the nutrition that I was putting into my body probably, well, it wasn't the greatest nutrition because I was doing it on a daily basis, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And going into it deeper, I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I lost this much amount of weight eating such little calories, but look at all this bad fat I was eating, you know? All this fat or like the carbohydrates that I was eating, I was like, holy moly, like these are refined carbohydrates, which are like an obviously big no-no, right? Spikes blood sugar, and then in return, it just stores more
We
body
talked
fat,
about that a lot.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wish I would have known more in depth about macros, like in protein and eating the right amounts of protein and what kind of protein, the healthy fats of how they actually help burn body fat. all these different things. Like, I just wish I would have known that when I was in a calorie deficit. So I think that's really important for people to know, because a lot of people are like, what are macros? You know?
I do want to add to this a little bit, but first,
Okay.
what resources have you found helpful so far?
So there's actually quite a few. I actually recently bought Lauren Fisher's nutritional guide, which has like a ton of information about macros and nutrition and, the benefits of eating the right foods. I've read the Sweet Potato book by Michael Morelli,
Mm-hmm.
which talks a lot about, again, like eating the right foods and which, like, the impact that good fats have for you, and, the bad impact that like refined carbs have for you, and how like low glycemic, index carbohydrates are way better for you. Anyways, I
Mm-hmm.
can go on and on about it, but
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And I've read another book on, carb cycling, because I actually did carb cycling when I did my a strength training. uh it was like called Strong 45. It was like an 8-week challenge. I actually had posted it to my Instagram, where I had lost a lot of body fat in my belly. I don't know if you remember. I actually had like, like slightly some abs there,
I think
but
so. Yeah, I think I know what you're
yeah,
talking about. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I had tried the carb cycling, which is basically, one day you eat low carb, the next day you eat high carb, but of course you're eating the right carbohydrates,
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I've done a lot of reading. I read a lot on nutrition. It actually interests me a lot.
Have you had a chance to look through that NASM book I sent you?
I have not been able to look at that 700-page book yet. No.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess I should have prefaced you with that before I sent it over, but it's literally the personal trainer's manual. So
Yeah,
but there's a lot of good info
actually
in
my
there.
next. Yeah, so that's actually my next, is what my go-to next. I just finished reading Lauren Fisher's, which it was actually shorter, but I actually read through the whole thing already. So that's my next thing.
Sweet. Yeah, okay, there's a couple things I want to touch on here.
Okay.
Specifically because we're talking about nutrition, it's super duper incredibly important to point out that everyone you hear from and everyone that you're reading from, not you specifically, Davina, but like just in general for people who are listening, anyone you're gathering information from, you should view it as just that. Gather the information, find where it's coming from, do the due diligence and do the work to figure out what's supporting their claims, and then find what works best for you. Because nutrition is a very touchy subject, and I'm not qualified to speak on very specifics for anybody. But in terms of general fitness and general being healthy, I am, because I'm a personal trainer. So I would definitely recommend, A, talk to your doctor if you have specific questions, but B, take the time to gather a lot of different information, kind of like you are doing right now, and find the stuff that not only makes sense and is supported, but actually works well for you. Like for you, it sounds like carb cycling is a pretty useful thing for you to do.
Yeah.
Like for me, I've always found just a typical like low carb diet feels really good, but I have to be super careful to make sure that I get enough carbs. Otherwise I become a terribly aggressive and angry person.
Oops.
Yeah. So, I just want to put a little stamp on that. Another thing that you mentioned a couple of times that I want to bring up is low glycemic index. That is so important, but it's also kind of specific. So for anyone who doesn't know, the glycemic index is, I believe, how much your blood sugar is spiking. So a low glycemic index food won't spike it as hard. And then glycemic comes from, I'm probably butchering this and missing a lot of important information, but glucose is what the body runs on, basically sugar. Carbs effectively become sugar. So a low glycemic index carb won't inject a lot of glucose and sugar into the bloodstream. It won't give you that massive spike. Same reason like when kids eat candy and they go all crazy and start vibrating for like 30 minutes and then they crash really hard. Then they crash really hard. That's that. So a good example, like I think you were talking about, like lentils or sweet potato is not going to shoot you up really high versus like a red potato. like we were
Right.
talking about back at Fausto's event,
Yeah.
red potatoes are great and everything in moderation for sure, if that's what works for your body, but they will spike you more than, say, a sweet potato or a lentil. And then on top of that, when you're spiked, from my current understanding about this, when you've spiked your glycemic index, your body will pull in more of what's being consumed. So for instance, like if you ate like a fruit roll up and then pounded like, an In-N-Out burger, like it's going to pull in more of that versus like if you ate a can of sardines and then ate the In-N-Out burger, it's going to take in, different nutrients and stuff. So that's a bit of a side tangent, but I kind of want to make sure that we talk about that. And me and my sardines, you know how that goes.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And then the thing with macros too, I like using those as like proxies as you're kind of getting into things, because that is an incredibly critical piece of information to have in terms of when you have a specific weight loss goal like you did, there's numbers to meet. But there's also the other end of the spectrum of you want to make sure you don't get too crazy into it. I've never personally tracked my macros intensely, but I've known people who have, and it starts to, their life revolves around their macros in a detrimental way.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I think that's what was even happening to me at one point where I was like constantly on my phone and I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't go over this or I got to do this, but it ended up just coming to a point to where, because I've been on my fitness and weight loss journey for so long, that I know what works for me now. Like I know how much I can have of something, and I'm okay. I don't really, I watch what I eat, but I'm not crazy about tracking anything anymore.
Yeah. And I think one thing that has helped me tremendously, and that I actually did, I think for like 4 years or so, I think it's 4 years, 4 or 5 years, was I would write down all the food I ate in a day. I had a food journal and I would just take track of the food journal. I also mixed it with sleep so I could track my sleep and stuff. But it wasn't
sleep is super important.
Oh my gosh. I think you got to sleep first and then worry about food and working out.
Yes,
yeah.
I agree with you 100% on that.
In that order too. Sleep first, get your food right, then work out. That's not always realistic, but
Yeah.
But that food journal makes for me, it made a huge difference, because I am and I stopped doing it late last year, but late 2019, but it was such a critical thing for me to be very aware of what I was eating all the time. Not in a bad way, but just like, okay, so I think I'm not eating that badly, but I look back at it and actually only one of my 4 meals that day was good. The rest of it was kind of not so great,
There's no vegetables here.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that if you can write down your food and look at it and say, okay, is this, if you're really intent and it's important to pay attention to glycemic index, is this low glycemic index? If you Google the food name and then the word glycemic index, it'll tell you more or less if it's, low, medium, high.
Right.
But yeah, I asked myself the question of like, is this low glycemic index? Is this, did I make it or did I buy it?
Right, exactly.
And not buy it in terms of like, did I go to the store and buy an apple? I mean, like
Whole Foods?
Yeah, was this processed or not processed?
Yeah, exactly.
And that makes it.
And we can go on and on about this of processed food versus whole foods, and even if it says healthy, processed food is processed food.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is like technically like loaded with sugar, processed food, but.
And there's usually always something else in there that just doesn't need to be in there. Whether that's salt, whether that's a word that you can't pronounce or whatever. It's just, cool. I'm really glad you brought that up, because that is such a critical piece of information that I actually have not discussed yet, but is like something I think about every single day. So,
no, it's good. I think it's important, and I think it just comes with anybody who's on any type of fitness journey or weight loss journey, you learn over time. Like me, like I wish I could have went back and knew that before and knew strength training, but it's just a journey, and I just have to pick up with what I know now, and now I'm applying it, and it makes a difference.
One big thing too, that this is a pretty recent switch, recent being like the last year, as I've trained more intensely, and as I've been around other people that are training very intensely, depending on what your goals are, like I see food as fuel.
Mm-hmm.
And I separate food for pleasure and food for fuel. So depending on what my goal is, those couple weeks or those couple months, I'll kind of adjust my expectations. Like if I'm really aggressively chasing some kind of, fitness goal, I don't think about most of what I'm eating in any other form of evaluation other than, is this actually fueling my body for what I need? And I feel like that's the same way of talking about macros, just reframing it in your mind,
Mm-hmm.
So,
No, I agree with you. Certain foods give you energy, like healthy fats, they give you energy,
Yep.
The same thing like post-workout, pre-workout, I didn't do this, at all until probably just recently when I got more into the strength training. I was like, I need to start having a pre-workout and a post-workout. And I wasn't doing any of that, but I didn't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
And especially now that my goals are to get toned, sometimes I always have like some type of protein and a carb right before my workout, typically like a sweet potato and maybe like a scoop of like a protein or something, anything to kind of fuel my body, or sometimes a handful of blueberries, depending on how intense the workout's going to be.
Blueberries are really good. Also, don't lie, you're out here taking that mad pre-workout, right? Like you're doing like the cocaine pre-workout. No. The brand's not the drug.
The Bang.
Yeah. You're drinking Bangs.
All jittery before.
I know a very specific British jumper that's a very close friend of mine who likes to take down a lot of Bangs every day. Yep.
That has like a yellow jump rope.
I mean, if you know colors correctly, yeah. Anyway, no, I love you, Chris. Yeah. So tell me about a time that you felt super frustrated jumping, because we've all been there, and I'm curious what skill it was for you that made you feel really frustrated.
So I would say the only time to the point to where I came to tears was when I was trying to get the TJ down. So when I was trying to get the TJ down, which is kind of funny, which was last April, but I was only 4 months into jump roping. And now that I look back, I'm thinking like, geez, I was crazy, trying to.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember you sending me messages like, I can't believe I can't get this TJ. I'm like, how long you been jumping? 4 months? Get out of here. Come on. You're doing great.
But I had the side swing. I had the toe down, and I just couldn't get to the open. My foot kept getting caught on the open. But it was to the point to where, at that time I was using a long handle licorice rope. So the rope was slapping my face. I would leave the gym with marks all over my face, all over my back, all over my arms. Like I was so determined to get it down because I was like a hair off, and it was just one of those tricks that I had seen when I first really got into jump roping, and I started following people. And I was like, oh my gosh, that TJ looks amazing. Like, that looks so cool. You look like you're like flying in the air, I'm like, I want to do that.
You feel like you are too.
Yeah. It's amazing. Like, I love it. And then when it's in slow mo, gosh, it's like so cool, And it was to the point to where like, I remember just standing in front of the mirror at the gym, and I had tears in my eyes because I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. Like, I was so frustrated. And even to this day, I want to say like I tried to attempt it again a couple of months ago, and I my foot still gets caught, but I just can't bring myself to keep trying it because I'm afraid of whacking my face again,
Yeah, I'm actually currently going through your profile and looking at it. Yeah, because I'm going to give you a couple of tips here because we need to go through this again because I know you can do this. So I'm looking at one of your posts. By the way, you don't post a lot, so it was really easy to go back on your profile, and I really appreciate that.
I don't post a lot. I'm a super busy stay-at-home mom, so it's like I hardly have time to post. I can barely make it to the gym and have my alone time, and then I can't always have time to record.
Yeah.
But I love it though. I love it. Like the one I just posted, it was so much fun in downtown Riverside. I had a blast doing it.
Yeah, that looked really cool. I really like that post.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm looking at May 23rd, 2019. You're trying to TJ, and I know you've come a long way from then, but I do want to revisit this a little bit.
Okay, let's do it.
because this is super common. So
Okay.
a TJ is a triple under trick.
Mm-hmm.
And this is more for people listening who are not sure what a TJ is. A TJ is a triple under trick where you first swing the rope to the side of your body. So you do a side swing, and then you move into a toed placement where one arm goes underneath one leg. That leg is basically doing a high knee, and the arm that's going underneath that leg is crossing in front of your body underneath that, basically a high knee. The other leg is kind of kicking back behind your body, getting out of the way. And then your remaining arm is crossing on top of all that. So you're doing a cross, but one arm is underneath the leg. So swing,
Mm-hmm.
cross. We also call that a toed placement. So swing, toed placement, and then you finish by coming back into an open. So on this
Mm-hmm.
May 23rd, 2019 post, you're doing a very common thing, which is you're jumping and you're going straight into the toed position.
Toad.
Yeah, exactly. And you're trying to come
I
back into
know.
an open. And so that is a toe double. And I actually find it a lot harder to learn than a TJ. Just because,
Really?
yeah, it's just a really
Wait, so I
awkward
did
position.
something I didn't even know I was doing.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
toad open.
Yeah. But this is super common, and I've seen so many jumpers do this. One thing that's a little bit unique to your attempt at this skill too is, well, it's not unique. I've seen this before with other people too, is you're actually swinging out of the skill. So if you imagine the side of your body and you're going into that toed, cross placement, and it's in like mega, like 1,000 frames per second slow motion, and the rope goes underneath your feet, so you're in the cross, right?
Mm-hmm.
The rope's coming around your body, and typically you would bring your hands out of the cross and the rope would go underneath your feet to complete that second rotation.
Right.
You're actually pulling the rope out from underneath your leg, so out of the cross, but you're pulling the rope to the side of your body and swinging it to the side of your body rather than bringing it underneath your feet.
For an open?
Right. Yeah. So you want to do the open, but in this attempt, it's coming off to the side in a side swing. And with these kinds of skills, it's really important. And I know you know this now, but this is kind of more for people listening, that when you finish a skill, if you want to finish in a swing, you can, and you should practice that if you enjoy it. And if you want to train triple under skills and connect skills together one after the other, it's really important to practice landing on an open or a cross skill, or just any kind of rotation that goes under both of your feet and is not a swing. There's nothing wrong with either way. It's just you want to be clear about what you're going for because of what we're talking about right now. You didn't realize last May that this wasn't the skill you thought it was.
No, it wasn't. And I was actually happy that you were like, you almost got it, but you still need to side swing and open. I think your comments in there.
Well,
which, I mean, I totally appreciated it because in my mind, I thought like I did it, but when he told me that, that's when I went to go practice it the next day. Actually, I was like, okay, I got to do this, right? I'm that close. So I got the side swing, the left side swing down with the toad, but again, it still got caught in my foot in the open. Same to this day.
Still to this day, it's like that?
My hands aren't. Yeah, like I mean, I still, like I said, I could do the side swing toad, and I'm in the air, but my hands aren't fast enough to go to the open, and my hand always gets caught on the rope always gets caught on my right foot. Never fails. It goes under my left, but it always like catches my right foot. It's almost like I bring my right foot down too fast or something, or either that or my right hand is too slow to come into the open.
I'm still searching for a video of you doing it just to like confirm. But based on what you're telling me right now, I would say that your right foot probably is coming down sooner is the right foot the one that's going behind, or are you crossing underneath?
Behind.
It's going behind.
Behind.
Yep. Okay.
I cross under my left.
Yep. Cool. So when your right leg's coming back, it's probably coming down a little bit too soon, and it's probably a combination of what you just said. It's coming down too soon. Your arm needs to come over a little bit faster. And you probably just need to sync it up with the rope a little bit. And I know you also like to use a pretty long rope too. So
I shortened it when we met at Foster's. I actually went,
right.
And I think I actually went down more when I was trying to get more comfortable with the mamba. So I brought it down about 2 to 3 inches.
That's a good amount.
Say.
Yeah.
And it actually feels perfect.
Yeah, I would say 2 inches is a really good amount of length to take off of your rope when you're testing out different sizes, because 1 inch is kind of noticeable, but 2's like a good chunk where it's not too much, but you're gonna feel it, you know?
Well, when I actually brought it down an extra inch, because I kind of felt like I was still having a hard time with the mamba, learning the mamba, and I shortened another inch, and I felt like, and I know I still need to practice it more, but it was way more easier for me to feel the motion of the rope and to feel the timing of it, and then for me to be able to catch it. Where
Hmm.
before, I mean, I wasn't even catching. I think it was just so long, you know?
Yeah, the rope size, especially with releases, is so critical. Like if you've got that rope up to your armpits, I can almost guarantee it's for sure not the right size for releases.
Right.
If you're a boxer and that's your style, for sure, just you can crush it all day. But for releases and for a lot of crosses, that's going to be super duper excessive. Unless you really have a style that works for you like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, what do you use your wire rope for? What kind of workouts?
Um, I haven't used it since I hurt my Achilles, because I was trying it with the trying to see how many doubles I can do.
Mm-hmm.
And the day that I hurt myself, I did 150 doubles that day. It wasn't consecutive 150. It was broken up in 50.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since I had hurt my Achilles in the summer, it was actually this past July, I haven't picked it up because I'm afraid to hurt it again.
Mm. Have you
So,
ever had well, okay, so number one, yeah, let's talk about volume for a second. If you're not used to doing that many doubles, it's like a real thing, especially with jump rope, to be
right.
careful of that, because it is a plyometric skill. And so plyometric is speed and strength together. It's power. Power is speed plus strength. So if you are not
Right.
used to doing that kind of a skill, even if you're used to doing singles and different, one-off,
Hmm.
triples or something, it's it's so different on the body. But yeah. So you did
But
150?
I did 150, and then the next day I was limping and went to go to a physical therapist, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you strained your Achilles in your calf." So I was like, "Oh great."
Yeah.
So I remember they're like, "You need to stay off your jump rope," and I was like, "Uh-huh." So I stood off it for like 3 days, but then I started, jumping with my beaded rope again,
I
which I probably shouldn't have. But just one of those things where it's just like I love jump roping. I love it. I just really love what I do. So it was hard for me to stay off it.
Why do you love it? Why do you love jump rope?
I love jump rope. One of the main things why I love it so much is because it's different. It's unique and it's challenging. Like jump rope is challenging. And when I first picked up the jump rope to start working out, at the time I had the cross ropes, like the half pound, the quarter pound.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I first picked up a jump rope, I could not even go 5 seconds without, being out of breath. And I mean, like, really being out of breath, where I had to take like a 30-second break before I can go jump for another five
Yeah, it
seconds. I
was
mean,
like
that's pretty bad, right?
it was like the
you know?
gross out of breath too, huh? It was like the
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
deep
yeah,
breathing,
it
like
was.
I can't live anymore. This is hard.
It
Yep.
was. But I was so determined. And I think what really attracted me to jump roping, I mean, aside from the weight loss, but what really made me want to keep going with it was, following, all of the jump rope, everybody who has their Instagrams and all these tricks that are done. I'm like, this is so cool. Like, I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to do cardio and to be able to do things like this for fun. Like, so now after a year of jumping, before I couldn't even go 5 seconds, I'll jump for like 45 seconds practicing tricks, and I don't really stop. I'll stop maybe here and there for, like a minute of breath or whatever, because you're not moving as intensely. But just by practicing, I burn like 300 calories sometimes in like
Mm-hmm.
half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
And that
But that's why I love it.
moving too, like you mentioned, you don't move as intensely. I'm gonna translate that to you've become a lot
Okay.
more efficient.
Okay, there you go. I am
Right?
more efficient.
Yeah, you are. But this is
Yeah,
this is a super real thing, and this is
it
what
is.
continues to happen no matter how long you jump, is you always have an opportunity to become more efficient in terms of these very large freestyle skills. you know?
That's right. The 2 years that I've been at the gym, I mean, I've only been jumping rope at the gym for like it's been a year now. I've never seen anybody jump or try. I've seen people like, yeah, they like jump a little bit, but when people go in there and jump and I'm like learning my tricks, I've never seen anybody try to attempt to do anything like the Mick. Like I've even had people come up to me and be like, "Hey, what is that? Like, what is that called? Like, how do you know how to do that?" And they'd always say like, "Well, where did you learn that from?" And I've actually referred them like to you and to Jimmy to go follow your guys' pages. So it's neat. Like you don't really see anybody doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna start seeing that a lot more for
yeah.
sure. It's gonna start becoming much more popular in the coming years. But what is that? What does that motivation do for you when you see other people post? What and this might be a weird question, and we can skip past it if you want to. But I'm curious if what's going through your mind. What is it about seeing these other jumpers that gets you excited? If that's the
Like,
case at all.
yeah, no, absolutely. Like watching everybody that I follow like gets me excited. It's the tricks. I mean, the tricks that I see are so neat, like the triples and how you do that. I don't even know what it's called. This is horrible. But when you do the side swing and then you're not the side swing, I'm sorry, the mick and you're jumping in the air with the mick and then you go into an open.
Oh yeah, triple mic. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just doing you said one, two,
Yeah.
three. It's the three movements
Yeah.
in the air. Yeah.
I mean, it's so different and everybody's style is different. It's almost like to me like jump rope's like an art. It's an art of expressing yourself and I love watching all these other jumpers because if you look at everybody, just about everybody has different footwork. Everybody like has their own style of the way they jump. And I love that, you know? And even how fast people can be with the rope when they're doing the triples or the quads or like you amaze me of how fast you are with your hands. That's why I always mess around with you and call you ninja. Like you're so fast, like it's amazing. Yeah, like I can't imagine, geez, the pain you're in when you whack yourself with your beaded rope.
Yeah, I wish
Yeah.
I could say that I'm used to it, but when it hits the right spot, what's really weird is I was whipped on like the side of my body one time,
Hmm.
and I don't know how that really happened because the rope was moving forward, but it was like a really painful whip. But yeah,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, that
Yeah,
makes
those whips
makes a
are
lot of
no
sense.
joke.
No, they're not, and they
Yeah.
and they stay with you,
Yeah.
physically or mentally, but probably both.
Yeah, that's why I told you. That's why I can't go back to the T. I don't know how and why. Maybe now that I think about it, maybe it was because when I was doing the TJ and I whacked my face, maybe it was because my rope was too long at the time. You know, I
It's
don't know.
probably partially that, and it's probably partially how you're coming out of it as well.
True.
Yeah. What's your favorite skill right now?
My favorite skill right now is the Mick and the 180 Mick and the Mamba.
Yeah, that 180
And
make is awesome.
yeah, and it's so funny because that's when I did it on accident. And I don't know, you remember I sent you a message on Instagram. I was like, is this even a thing? Do you remember? And then you sent me the video of how to do it correctly.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that was in December, right?
it was in December.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you're like, this is how you do it. It's easier for me to show you on a clip here.
Oh yep, yeah. It
Yeah.
it really is
Yeah.
easier to just show it than it is to explain it.
Yeah. And I was like, is this even a thing? Because I was just kind of, I don't know about you, but sometimes like I just kind of mess around with my rope and, you just
Oh
kind
yeah.
of come across things and, and that's kind of like how that happened.
That's honestly the best way. That's probably the best way to kind of explore new tricks is to just mess around and do random movements
Hmm.
because you really do get a lot out of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious if the if the
Mhm.
old you could see the new you, what would they say?
If the old me could see the new me, what would I say?
Mhm. Let's pick 5 years ago. 5 years ago, you sees you today. What would they say?
I would be like, wow. I'm not sure what I would say to myself, but I think that I would never think that I would have picked up a jump rope. Like not in a million years because fitness, I was never into fitness. I didn't care for fitness. I didn't care to be healthy. I didn't care about any of that stuff. So if I would have seen myself, if I would have had to say something to myself, I'd be like, wow, like, you definitely got out of your comfort zone of being an introvert and getting out there and being able to connect with other people. Um, yeah, I would have never thought I would have a jump rope to be fit and to learn all these tricks and to learn, um, health and nutrition. And I mean, even people who grew up with me, like, when I was a kid, like 11, I have friends from 26 years. They're like, who would have ever thought you would be who you are right now? You know, healthy and fit.
There's probably a lot of pride that comes with that too, I would imagine.
I mean, yeah, I try to, no, I mean, I try not to be prideful.
Well,
Even
healthy
when
pride,
a
healthy
healthy
pride.
pride.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm very,
Self-confidence.
yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it. Self-confidence. Like I'm really excited, of who I am. I love who I am. I love that I jump rope. I've loved that, I've been able to connect with people in the jump rope community. I love that, people who ask me questions about health now, I can help them, because of my experience and my journey. I really love where I'm at in my life.
You mentioned being introverted, and we
Yeah.
briefly touched on this at the beginning.
hmm
So what's the story there?
Um, I've always been, I've always had a lot of friends, but I've always really been to myself. Like, I mean,
Preaching
call
to the
this
choir.
crazy.
100%.
I need my quiet time, and even when I was younger, I mean, this may be crazy, right? For probably, I don't know, but when I was like 20, I just wanted to be by myself. I would go drive to the beach by myself, take a book, I would sit there. It was just the introvert in me of being alone. Um, but I think that coming to jump roping and it's helped me get out of being such an introvert because I could be to myself. Like, I'm not going to go up to anybody and be like, just start conversation. I don't do that with anybody. I'm just to myself all the time, unless I know you. But I think with jump roping, it's helped me get out of my shell because in the beginning, it was really hard for me to even want to make an Instagram page. Like, I didn't want to because I was like, well, I don't really want to connect with people. I don't really want to, I feel embarrassed. Like, I feel embarrassed to post stuff, but there is something about jump rope that lights a fire in me. Like I really love it. I love all the skills that come with it and how it's so challenging. Um, but because I loved it so much, that's when I went to go and I created the Instagram. I was like, you know what? I need to get out of being such an introvert and being so to myself. And I just got to get out of my fear of feeling embarrassed. And I'm gonna put myself out there. And and that's how I met you. Ended up meeting people like Jimmy and and Fausto and Bobby and like all these amazing other jumpers. Um and I love it. And it's definitely helped me to not being an introvert. It's helped me to get out of my shell. And I love it. And I'm so glad that I got out of that fear of feeling embarrassed.
Feeling embarrassed for jump roping?
Yeah, just feeling embarrassed because I mean, I didn't know how big it was. Like, there was only so many accounts I followed when I first started finding out about jump roping. The people that I followed was very, very minimum. Like I would say like I don't even remember like maybe 5 to 10 people. But I didn't realize how many people out here jump rope until I started learning more stuff and following more people.
That makes a lot of sense because if you're the only one jump roping and you're not really sure what you're doing,
Yeah.
I mean, I've I definitely resonate with what you're talking about on there because I am 100% naturally an introvert as well. I can play
hmm
extrovert and I can put that on and I can enjoy it to a certain amount, but
hmm
I need to recharge like a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm the same way.
it's a big thing, and I kind of want to underscore. You mentioned a lot, being jump roping helped you get out of your shell, and not
Mm-hmm.
be so much of an introvert. And I'd like to switch that up. You can
Okay.
feel free to, take this or not, but the way I view it now, because a lot of this is a lot of what I've thought about, and it really knocked me down in terms of self-confidence for years and years and years, is always feeling like I was wrong for feeling this way. Like
For
what
feeling like an introvert.
100%, like
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
described.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it didn't help. Well, I love the school that I went to, UC Santa Barbara, but UC Santa
Mm-hmm.
Barbara is like known for partying and people always
Right.
doing things. And I had plenty of fun that I won't get into right now, but like everyone, yeah, everyone around you is like redlining and like always doing a lot. And
Right.
I was just never like, that's just not my thing. Like I have fun when I have fun, and then I'm done, you
Yeah,
know?
I totally agree.
And so, but a lot of that being around that, until I kind of figured it out, like I thought that was like a bad thing.
And it's so funny that you say that, because I grew up always feeling like that too. Like I thought like I was wrong for feeling the way I feel. You know, how sometimes I'm like, okay, like I hung out with this big group for, 4 or 5 hours. Like this is when I was younger, like a group of friends. I was like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm like,
And the funny
I would
thing,
just, yeah.
and the funny thing is, I think I saw Deanna post about this a while ago. I
Hmm.
think she posted about it, but it was like a quote that was like, everyone tells extroverts to go outside and do stuff, but no one ever tells extroverts to shut up.
I know.
It's like a real thing. And like, that's a little bit aggressive,
Yeah.
and I'm not dissing on extroverts at all, because,
Yeah.
everyone is the way they is. But in terms of, to your point about being introversion being a bad thing or getting out of
Hmm.
your shell, I would say you didn't get out of it, you grew it. You grew your
Mm,
shell.
that makes sense.
You know what I mean? It's just that
Hmm.
for someone who is naturally inclined towards introversion, their circle is smaller on purpose, not on
Yeah.
accident, and they choose very deep one-on-one or one-on-two um, deep interactions rather than
Yeah.
going out and going wild. But I've always found, for me personally, that if you can feel a part of the community and you can feel like you belong in that space,
Hmm.
then it becomes a lot smaller, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like if
Hmm.
you showed up to a jump rope meetup with 100 jump ropers, you might, obviously that's 100 people, that's a lot of people, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, this is too many people. But I bet you'd feel a lot more comfortable doing that than something else that was just kind of a random group of folks, And I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know you, that's kind of more reflective on me, and I should just say
Hmm.
that's more of my opinion on the matter. But I find that, based on what you were saying, growing your shell seems to be a little bit more accurate.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you about it. It's so interesting how you say about you like have a small amount of people in your lives, like how you say like are more like deep one-on-one. And a lot of the friendships that I have in my circle of friends are friends that I've known since childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of friends that I've made throughout the years were a lot of friends who just came and gone, you know. As I've gotten older, and I feel like a kind of like a lot of the deeper roots that I've made um, were when I was younger. I mean, there's a few friends that I've made along the way just because we've connected and, we built a really good friendship. But I agree with you on that 100%.
That was one of the biggest things that surprised me about jump rope, probably in the last like 2 years, is I never really thought that I would connect deeply with all these jumpers.
Mm-hmm.
Not because of who they were, but because I never really saw myself connecting with someone over Instagram over just jump rope.
Jump rope.
But it turns out that like I mean, I truly do see, you and most of these people on Instagram that I talk to on the daily as like legitimate friends.
Uh-huh.
And that's why I would never want to put out bad information. That's also why
Mm.
I work so hard to put out good information. It's because it feels like I'm helping my friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you
So,
are. I mean, you're an amazing, amazing person. Like I remember telling my husband, I said, Nate is so nice. Like just the fact that he takes so much time to help guide through some of these, well, the majority of the tricks that I've learned, I've reached out to you on, and I was like, it's so nice that he does that, and you don't have to do that, but you do. And I love it. Your heart is amazing. You have an amazing heart.
I'm really glad that I recorded that, so now I can just pump my ego up really large, like every
You'll
day,
play it
like,
every day.
yeah, that's just my morning wake up is like Davina saying all that, No, but I do really appreciate that. That was super duper kind, and I thank you a lot. I appreciate that. I think this is probably a good spot to kind of start wrapping up here with our last main question, the question that I ask everybody. What is jump rope to you?
What is jump rope to me? Well, kind of like what I said earlier, I think to me, first of all, it's my me time. I think jump rope has always been used as something for me to kind of get away from responsibilities. And what I mean by that is, I run a small photography business. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I'm really busy with after school activities. Making breakfast, lunch, dinner. The list goes on and on and on. And jump rope for me has always been a way for me to just go have that hour and a half to 2 hours to myself with the music blasting in my ears and just having my alone time. That's what it's always been for me. And another thing for me, I think that for me, I've always looked at jump rope as like a form of art, like expressing yourself. And what I mean by that is we all listen to different music. I don't know. Someone could be listening to classical music. I really don't know. But it's a form of expressing yourself. And I feel like sometimes when we listen to that music in our ears, well, at least I can speak for myself, it kind of gives me, I feel like it helps me to get into it more, and it helps me to express myself more as I jump, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's for me, and for me, it's definitely been a tool that has been challenging, and because it's been so challenging, I feel like that has created determination in me, and determination I feel like builds character. And what I mean by that is, you know, you don't just pick up the rope and then you learn the mick. It doesn't work that way. It takes like a lot of patience and determination to get it down. And then once you get it down, it's like the most gratifying feeling ever. I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm like on top of the world when I get a trick down. And I'm pretty sure a lot of us feel that way. We're like, whoa, look at, how some of us will post stuff and, you're trying so hard to get a trick down and you just made it and you're like, that counts.
Yeah.
That counts.
Gross, but still counts.
So, yeah. So to me, that's what it is. It's so challenging and it builds so much. And I feel like it leads to wanting to do more and wanting to learn more. And I feel like jump rope is the perfect thing to where it's like, there's endless amount of things to learn, so many tricks out there. So that's what it is to me.
That's a great answer.
Oh,
I like
you.
that. You articulated so much of what I think so many of us feel when we're jumping, and that was a really solid answer.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I think I want to definitely be respectful of your time here. I think it's about time we wrap up, but that was a really great conversation. And next time we chat, we got to talk about photography, because I'm not even sure how we didn't talk about that this time around.
That's right.
We replaced all that time with talking about macros and nutrition.
Macros.
Yeah, exactly.
Breaking down glycemic for everybody.
Nice. All right, well, I'll let you get back to your night. And thank you again for being on the show, and have a great rest of your night.
Yeah, thank you, Nate. I appreciate it.